plus all the supplies you'll need for installation and trim to complete the job, all at the lowest prices in town. Visit thewindowdepot.com to find a location near you. That's thewindowdepot.com. Stores are open Monday through Saturday, but they also offer online ordering and no-contact delivery. The Window Depot. Lowest prices, biggest inventory.
M1EP.com. Superior multifamily property management services citywide.
One tap on the talkback mic inside the free iHeartRadio app could get you tickets to our legendary iHeartRadio Music Festival in Vegas this September. First, download the free iHeartRadio app. Second, open the iHeartRadio Music Festival station playing the artists from this year's iconic lineup. Third, tap the talkback mic and send us a message for who you're excited to see take the stage this year.
Pat Benatar and Neil Giraldo.
You'll be entered to win tickets for both nights of our world-famous iHeartRadio Music Festival.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. Be a part of the show by calling 915-544-KTSM, 915-544-5876, or comment online on our stream at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. It's 4 p.m. Mountain Time, and that means it's time to talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk, all those places that you can comment on here. Okay, Twitter's more of a DM thing, but you get what I mean. You can let us know what you have to say, what you think about the subject that we are discussing here today, and we do have a pretty busy day for you as well. You ever have one of those days when you're like, okay, I wonder what's going to go on today. I've got a vague plan. And then something comes along and you just end up, imagine me just ripping a stack of papers in half at once. That was kind of today, and amongst at very least, well, what's coming out, of course, of the Capitol, and more specifically the Supreme Court building, where there was, quite a bit of interesting decisions coming out today. No, not maybe the most interesting one that's, well, most anticipated, I guess would be the better way to put it, because yes, the Roe v. Wade one may or may not be coming out tomorrow. I have a sneaking suspicion it'll probably be the ultimate, if not penultimate, actual decision to come out in this season, which I think the actual releases could come out as late as end of next week. So yeah, if you're on pins and needles on that one, I don't have any great answers for you, or much that I can tell you, except we'll wait and see. But a couple of impacting ones, one affecting Miranda rights, and well, more or less what the repercussions for not having them are, more specifically. And then, yes, that one that you've probably heard blasted from a lot of areas, including, of course, our top of the hour news update about what was going on with, well, certain laws relating to the possession and carry of firearms within the United States as a whole. The interpretation of the 2nd and 14th and also 10th Amendment, not exactly part of the decision, but it's come up in the discussion I have seen here. So yeah, we'll certainly get into that. But of course, closer to home, we have had some interesting action even going on not too long from now when it comes to some other local controversial issues, shall we say. The Downtown Multipurpose Performing Arts and I forget the other part of the phrase, MPC, or more commonly known as the Arena. There will be a meeting on that today with those consultants that have been hired for that, roughly $700,000+. Gensler and Associates. Gensler, however you say it, Gensler. Yeah, consulting architect hired by the city in April after what we talked about there. And that meeting going on at 5:30 today, and will also be live streamed for people to give their input on that whole project. So that moving forward, but also that's not even the only thing that's been coming out of the city lately. I will admit I've been mildly remiss about some new filings for, well, let's just say there's a lot of current or former legislator names, state level legislators, I guess I should say, on this potential ballot for city council coming up here in November. So we'll delve into that here a little bit as well, even as we're looking at some beef apparently being settled. I guess that missed a little bit of notice as well. And Yeah, a lot more to get to there, but also just the weather continuing to improve around here. Again, we're not a weather station by any means, but I can appreciate that all these rains, that whoever's been praying for it, you're at probably just the right amount right now. We'll let you know if you need to stop. I know all houses have been getting pounded pretty much every evening for the past few days now. And one of the good things here is that, well, I was talking about what this might mean for some of the areas up north. The Lincoln National Forest actually reopening as of tomorrow, June 24th, after being closed for a month due to the fire danger, the area fires. So that's a very good thing to have happening there. So yeah, just the right amount of praying for rain. So let's hope that that continues here, because, well, not that I've been there in several years, but it being closed just made me sad, I will perfectly say. But of course, that's not the only fire of issues to be put out here. So yeah, you may have seen it noted elsewhere as well. The Cowboys asking, are they building another stadium like the one off 375 for the schools? Not that I'm aware of. Again, we're talking about that downtown arena, that, again, the multi-purpose performing arts and something else center. What's the actual full name they're calling it now? Because the acronym that I'm most familiar with is MPC. So that whole idea with it, I mean, there are some potentials here. Some of the reporting going on from El Paso Matters in recent days and months, even more about the idea of maybe some alternate plans being put forth, including some other documents having been filed with the city based on this continuing long time. I mean, again, do you want to talk about a timeline here? The bond project itself being approved by voters, the bond, a 2012 quality of life bond, rather, I should say, being approved by voters back in 2012, and we're in 2022. So there's been a lot of change here. And Flacco Menace with the rain there saying, used to live in Cloudcroft, and up there, we never complained about precipitation. I guess, like, yeah, that's one thing. We're right at the right level. We're not quite at the whoever's praying for rain, you can stop now, though if it gets much beyond these bounds, I think we'd get there, as one of my favorite lines from the movie Jumanji comes out. A little rain never hurts you, a lot can kill you. So we're right in the sweet spot, I feel, right now, and I'm happy with how it is. Though if you're getting leaks in your house, like I think we may either have had one, or that we've had an overzealous air conditioning unit, because if you've been wondering about your window units, if they're not working as well, you might want to check for them icing over. Yeah, not a problem we usually deal with out here in the desert Southwest, but it's certainly possible. Getting back, of course, to the potential for the city again, they're going to be having that meeting. It's going to be at the Center for Engagement, 17th floor of the Blue Flame Building at 304 Texas Avenue, starting at 5:30 this evening. But it can also be live streamed if you go to the El Paso, Texas.gov website. Is where it should be there. You'll find WebEx, which I am not going to have up during our show here. But talking about the potentials and input, specifically, they want to look at some of the financial models that include estimates and capital and operating costs, public-private opportunities for preservation of existing buildings and historic character of the neighborhood, as well as how to protect dilapidated buildings, as noted by El Paso Matters there. So that's some kind of movement, I guess you could qualify it as such, but whether or not it actually happens out of it, and I would be more interested to see if this was a series of meetings, but at least one talking about a potential here is interesting enough here. Monica Cervantes adding on that, yeah, keep your window units no lower than 68 degrees below that danger of freezing the unit, having gone to college out of state in one of those not exactly swampy states, but certainly everywhere feels more swampy than here. Yeah, that would definitely be an issue we'd run into. I had a cheap unit back in college where it was either on, low, or high. And yeah, during those summers where you felt like you could cut the air with a knife, it was so thick, be hard pressed to keep it on anything but high. And yeah, the freezing and the icing over would definitely happen. So if you've been having those issues because of the humidity we've had, and it's also worth noting that we had one of our lowest highs, which may sound oxymoronic, but it's accurate, that one of the lowest high temperatures in, well, recorded history of the area anyway, I think it was on Tuesday, we hit 80 when the lowest previous recorded high was 84. So yeah, just make sure your systems are working well out there, and check your leaks, check your seals, check all that stuff, because they've probably been under a lot of stress here lately. And again, I forget who it was, but whoever said that they had just gotten swamp units installed, I really do feel for you and hope it's working out well for you. Keep that circulation going, but I'm sure you're familiar with that. So that's not the only thing going on with the city, of course. This meeting of the Multipurpose Performing Arts Center, again, MPC, more commonly known as the Downtown Arena in concept anyway. That meeting going on a little bit later in this show. Interested to see what comes out of it. I know that, among other things, our news partners will be looking at Multipurpose Performing Arts and Entertainment Center, the EC. That is not really part of that MPC concept there. That was going to bug me till I remembered it. So, yeah, that's going to be good going on today, but that's not even the only thing affecting either the city or even city leadership more specifically. With, again, some apparent, for the moment anyway, burying of the hatchet between some of the members of city council and the mayor, but then also some more filings that we want to get into that are just showing, again, interesting legislative to potentially city council pipeline going on here. Not really, but hey, you got to figure out a narrative some way. So we're going to talk more about that after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Going out of this break, more on that and also our other subjects. We'll begin delving into all of them. Supreme Court cases, Texas legislators, local discussions going on with all of that, what it might mean here. So stay tuned. More Talk El Paso after this break. Don't go anywhere. Again, if you're wondering about, spending more time outside or inside, anywhere you might think about, particularly doing your cooking. I know that food prices are a conversation that has been coming up in our comments anyway. So stretching your dollars further than ever before is a great way to make sure that you're keeping your budget in place. So cooking at home is a great way to do that. Whether you're grilling outside, taking the heat outside there as well, or doing it inside, maybe doing it at night, however it works for you. A tip that I'm going to give you to make your food taste better without breaking the bank is by, of course, getting some of the great selection locally available of extra virgin olive oils, flavored olive oils, and balsamic vinegars from our friends over at Enhanced Flavors, where you can really spice up your life because sure, quality ingredients definitely make a difference in your recipes, but also adding those extra flavors, that's what can often take a meal from ordinary to extraordinary. So you want to find them online at enhancedflavors.com. That's enhanced with a D, flavors.com, and also out in the community, often out in farmers markets and such, lately out at the Country Club farmers markets, which does happen Saturdays from 10 to 2. But again, otherwise, always find them and their full selection, including more than what I just mentioned there, including some unique and gourmet pastas and a whole lot more. But I find everything about them and what they're doing, enhancedflavors.com. That's enhanced with a D, flavors.com. And don't forget to enter that order code at checkout, EF Flavors, to get your 15% off of your next order. Again, EF Radio, rather the place to do it, EF Radio. And again, enter that at checkout at enhancedflavors.com. That's enhanced with a D, flavors.com.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
On the 54 Patriot northbound at the Liberty Expressway, Fred Wilson exit, an injury accident reported. North Desert Boulevard northbound at Trans Mountain, a vehicle is blocking the right lane there. I-10 westbound at Americas Avenue, a disabled vehicle is blocking the right lane. And just now an accident reported Yarborough Drive southbound at North Loop. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Active 6. Your family's health is a top priority. That's why the Active 6 study is conducting research with the goal of helping people who have COVID-19 stay out of the hospital and feel better faster. Learn more at active6study.org/radio. That's activ6study.org/radio.
As the country bounces back from COVID and mask mandates are lifted, your business needs a lift too. Promote your company right here, right now. Radio ads connect with 93% of Americans every week. That's more than Google, more than Facebook, more than TV. In fact, radio reaches 20% more millennials than TV. Want more of the people you want to talk to all in one place? Visit iHeartAdvertising.com and get AM and FM working for you. That's iHeartAdvertising.com.
If you're 45 or older, this message could save your life. Health experts now recommend starting regular colorectal cancer screening at age 45. Colorectal cancer is the leading cause of cancer death, but it's preventable through regular screening. There are more screening options than ever before, including at-home tests. You've got the guts to prevent colorectal cancer. Talk to your doctor about your options and visit cdc.gov/screenforlife For more information.
Hey, it's Mario Courtney Lopez, and we know life is better together.
Smart Mouth mouthwash gives us the confidence to make life's moments amazing.
We are all getting together more, and Smart Mouth's 24-hour power of fresh breath with just 2 rinses a day keeps us from worrying about bad breath in those up-close moments.
Go to smartmouth.com/radio to save 20% or find Smart Mouth at your favorite store to give you confidence as we get closer to each other.
Remember to make life's moments better together with Smart Mouth at smartmouth.com/radio.
Do you find yourself stuck in a timeshare? Get the real facts about the timeshare industry and your options for cancellation. Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, beat the largest timeshare company in federal court and has put together a free information guide that reveals the secrets the timeshare industry doesn't want you to know, including the 5 ways to get rid of your timeshare. Call now and get this timeshare cancellation guide absolutely free.
Call 800-738-9900. That's 800-738-9900.
Text and work. Text and pretend to work. Text and act surprised when someone calls you out for not working. Who, me? Text and whatever, just don't text and drive. Visit StopTextsStopWrecks.org. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thanks for tuning in, however you may be doing so. A lot of ways to chime in on the show. Of course, social media up right now, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. However you may be doing it or preferring to do it, we're available in most, if not all of those ways. Whatever works for you, really. It's not a test quiz or got to know them all or be on all of them. And we've got a lot of people chiming in there. RJ, Calvin Williams, Monica Cervantes, Flaco Jimenez, Eric Von Holstein-Rathlow, and more tuning in, chiming in over there. Also dropping those likes. We appreciate it. It's a Facebook thing. Again, not required, but helps with the algorithmic thing. So we have that extra bit of appreciation there for it. Calvin Williams, Monica Cervantes, Robbie Flores, and Flaco Jimenez there as well. RJ saying that love the SCOTUS decision. New York City forcing you to come up with reasons to carry a gun was draconian. The right to self-defense in any scenario should be enough. And Calvin Williams clarifying his previous comment. It's link heavy, so I'm not going to post it up here, but talking about that the second student activities complex that Socorro broke ground on. I want to say that was back in the early second quarter. Yeah, April. There we go. April started April 25th, I want to say, is when they started work on that. So, yes, that is being worked on. Sorry, I thought you were asking about what was going on with the whole downtown multi-purpose performing arts and entertainment complex. MPC-EC? I think we're just sticking with MPC or Arena, as it's often being talked about here. So again, that meeting apparently, and again, live streamable, going to be going on a little bit later. I'll see if I can post up the link in our comment streams here in just a bit. But of course, that's not the only thing going on with the city lately. One thing that did mildly pass my notice, I will freely admit, was that there was a bit of burying the hatchet after there was ethics complaints, among other things, and some heated words between city council member, city councilor Peter Swarzbein and Mayor Oscar Leeser, according to a release out last week, actually, that passed my notice, saying, quote, the mayor and mayor pro tem had a constructive conversation and will continue to practice civility and professionalism during discussions and debates. Both remain committed to moving the city of El Paso forward and will continue to work together to see great things happen in El Paso. So, I mean, if that's, again, burying the hatchet for now, okay, sure, happy to see that happen. But one of the more interesting things that I've been paying a little bit of attention to is the amount of filings that have been going on. Now, this is something that you can see for yourself if you go to the City of El Paso Elections Department, not the county elections department, because, I mean, sure, they may end up administering them, but what is actually going on and who's on the ballot there, most easily seen there from, those current filing. So if you go to and see the election documentation, you can see who has decided that they are going to run, and it's becoming an increasingly full field. among other things, for District 1, there's a couple of candidates. District 5, a couple of candidates. District 6, 3 candidates. District 8, only one so far. Only a couple of incumbents have actually filed. Only really one, Claudio Rodriguez for District 6. And that's one of the more interesting now contenders that has come forth. Art Fierro has announced, as of, I believe, last week, technically, that he is throwing his hat in the ring for that district. Now, you may recognize that name as a previous guest on the show during his time, well, currently still going on, of course, as a member of the state delegation from El Paso to the Texas legislature, representing, well, I'll have to look at that district here off the top of my head, but of course, that district has largely been now district out. You may recall a little bit earlier in the year, as part of the Texas redistricting, there was more or less a combination of districts as one got largely pulled far to the east, as often happens in the area whenever we're talking about the redistricting affecting us here, because of course of the lack of population growth. Not absolutely, but in comparison to the rest of the Texas, yeah, it's kind of like having the brother that grew 5 inches on you over a summer. Whatever you were before, or whatever you did yourself, yeah, it tends to pale in comparison. So that having happened, and of course, being that it was no longer held by Art Fierro, being defeated there by Claudia Ordaz Perez, as she now fully holds the seat. And that little bit of a kerfuffle, you remember, well, he has now thrown his hat in there again for District 6, with the other candidate who was also announced for that one being Christian Botello. So see how that one works out. But it's just interesting to me, more than a little bit, I guess, that there's also another previously discussed former member, or I guess currently former member, as Art Fierro will be a former member by the time this election comes around, if that's not too entirely confusing. Joe Pickett is another name that may be familiar to those of you who have paid any level of attention to the state legislature previously, and particularly El Paso's involvement or representatives from our area in it. And he has thrown in his hat for a representative of District 6. So that happening. And District 6, of course, are currently held by, District 5. My dyslexia acting up there, I suppose. And so, of course, District 5 currently being held by Isabel Salcido, but it's been noted by El Paso Matters, among others, that the full filings have not happened there yet. There may or may not be committees, but the final thing, like appointing a treasurer, is apparently what the city rests upon when actually posting up their information, not having been listed just yet. So the city council races are starting to shape up. And it's also been noted that the filing deadline is not exactly coming up. There may have been some information out there about it being soon, but it'll actually be August 22nd. So there's a couple of months for that to come up. And a lot of commentary going on online about some of these laws and such. So that'll be, again, as we're looking at what the city may or may not be doing officially and procedurally, with that, again, multipurpose performing arts and entertainment center, better known as the downtown arena. Of course, who will be in charge of it is more than a little bit of a question. And also even how the city council may work going forward is another question that has, of course, come up. It's been hinted at a little bit, but it seems to be getting closer to at least potential voting on it, even if just by city council members. The idea of removing, among other things, the veto power of the El Paso mayor. Not necessarily of any particular mayor, but going forward in general, making it so that it's no longer a feature of the office and instead a vote. And also, I guess, leader, technically, tiebreaker. Those things, I guess, would be in question because, of course, right now, the mayor does not regularly vote, but instead casts the tiebreakers and, of course, has the veto ability in order to do so. So those raise interesting questions about how this would actually work, sometimes being put forth as remnants of the whole strong mayor system that we had before the city manager came in. And I know more than a couple here in our comment sections wondering, is that, well, what they really want to see, given some questions that have come up of the whole city manager side of the local government, given the, well, recent issues that we have had and conversations about contracts, etc. Then Calvin Williams saying that the mayor of El Paso has no veto power, according to recent events. I mean, there is, I will say there's a difference between a veto being overridden and there not being the veto available at all. I mean, it was always procedural. I mean, vetoes in general, I mean, even at the national level, can, of course, have override ability. It's not a blackball, shall we say, but it is a procedure that can, of course, be overridden. So as much as there may have been local stuff with it, I mean, I will of course, note that the previous one, when it came to some issuance of city debt certificates of obligation in a different circumstance, don't mix that up with the current one we are talking about involving the county and University Medical Center. Same term, different source of it here. That, of course, was not overwritten by council at that point in time after the mayor's veto came in. But this recent set of events, has certainly brought that much more back up into the conversation, I guess might be the right way to put it. But, I mean, that is coming out of, among other things, we've talked a lot about what has been these potential ballot issues, charter elections, etc., petitions going around. We've talked about a couple of them at least, but there's also the ad hoc charter advisory committee. That's where this idea and concept and potential for the removal of the veto is coming out of. So we'll probably delve further into that as we see what actually comes out of it. Those meetings either at or coming to an end here shortly. There has been public input if possible with those, but if anything actually comes out of them and ends up on our ballot that we will be voting on November, among other things, definitely something we'll talk a whole lot further about. Due for that next break right now. Coming out of this break, yes, we got a lot of comments coming in about those Supreme Court cases because, I mean, the one that involves the guns, I had no doubt would definitely be a focus here today, and we'll definitely get into some of what does that actually mean here in Texas, because there have been questions about what does it even mean for restrictions, but also there's another one affecting Miranda rights. We'll delve into that and a whole lot more after this break here on News Radio 690 KTSM.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
I'm Selena Madrid with your CBS 4 News Update. Employees at Isleta Independent School District will be getting a pay raise. The district's Board of Trustees approved the increase Wednesday night. Teachers will get a 5% raise, hourly full-time employees will get a 6% raise, and administration will get a 4% raise. And employees with the Socorro Independent School District will be getting a pay raise next school year too. Minimum wage employees will now be making $15 an hour instead of $7.25. Teachers and staff will get a 6% raise. Campus administration will receive a 5% raise, and district administration will get a 4% raise. They'll also get a $2,500 retention stipend. In a statement, the district says the raises are worthwhile investments in their dedicated employees. I'm Selena Madrid with your CBS 4 News Update.
News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
Eastbound on the border highway at the 54 Gateway, look for disabled vehicles, many of them off to the left, stay to the right there. 54 Patriot northbound at Liberty Expressway exit, an injury accident reported. Got a crash reported Yarborough southbound at North Loop, and that incident on North Desert Boulevard northbound at Trans Mountain, vehicle blocking the right lane there, has cleared up. All lanes are back open. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, this is Chief Meteorologist Sandra Diaz. We continue to deal with an isolated chance for some showers and storms going into tonight, and then a slightly better chance as we get going into the weekend. So with that said, keep in mind that moisture and daytime heating put together means that we may be dealing with some thunderstorms, and those are the ones that produce heavier rain, possibly some small hail, and some gusty winds.
This report is sponsored by Liberty Mutual Insurance, where you only pay for what you need.
Liberty. Nobody should have to pay for one-size-fits-all insurance coverage. Liberty Mutual customizes your car and home insurance so you only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty. Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
Talk El Paso, weekdays at 4 on News Radio 690 KTSM, breaking down the impact of the news on the borderland and beyond. Brought to you in part by Mission Del Rey Southwest, Souvenirs, Gifts, and Decor. That's Talk El Paso, Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m., right here on News Radio 690 KTSM.
Don't let breakfast be boring when it could be better. Wendy's Breakfast Baconator will have you feeling sunny side up all day long. Wake up to fresh cracked eggs, savory sausage, and oven-baked bacon, of course. Order it and start looking forward to tomorrow morning at participating U.S. Wendy's during breakfast hours only. This report is sponsored by Wendy's Breakfast Baconator.
Donna from Louisiana. The storm just hit, and we went from donating to the food bank to needing it.
Hunger is a story we can end. End it at feedingamerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. A lot of comments coming in through most of those different areas there if you really wanted to get at us with that. So, of course, a lot of stuff we'll get to in those, and we're talking about a few things going on with the city primarily, but of course, those national things, those just ever so slightly impacting Supreme Court cases that have come out lately, yeah, there's a lot going on there. And yeah, it's just a lot of commentary. Kevin Williams saying, among other things, for the previous idea, school employees getting raises and spending money on a stadium that is not needed. You know, they couldn't teach my oldest son to write in cursive. Makes sense to me. I'll say I'll take most of the issue, I think, in containing your sentiment there with the second part of the school stadium, because, like, yeah, wouldn't that maybe, I don't know, go better towards a core purpose there of actually paying teachers? I don't know. Maybe that's just me, and I think weird, apparently. But yeah, I mean, I'm not opposed to having better spaces, even though this one will be a smaller version of the current student athletic center, student activities complex, rather. I just know it as the SAC, and yes, that is what people call it, and you all know that that's what it's called. Don't even. But a smaller one, because the current one holds like 10,000 people, give or take, is the estimation I've seen, and this one will hold like 6,000. So I don't know. I'm not totally on board, and yeah, I think more should be given to teachers, given, I don't know, the ever so serious issues we got going on with that. But a lot of people also commenting on a lot of the stuff coming out of the Supreme Court. RJ a little bit earlier, Eric von Holstein-Rathlow saying, big win for the Constitution this morning, shall not be infringed. And Kathy Cordry kind of echoing, what part of shall not be infringed don't the Marxist hacks get, referring to anyone. Flock Command is referring to a sack of something here. Yeah. Calvin Williams also saying parking lot and a proper schedule would be cheaper, very potentially referring to that area. But so the Supreme Court cases, the two that I think are the most impacted coming out, most of course the one today, New York State Rifle and Pistol Association versus Bruin. That the holding there is, according to SCOTUS blog, New York's proper cause requirement for obtaining an unrestricted license to carry a concealed firearm violates the 14th Amendment in that it prevents law-abiding citizens with ordinary self-defense needs from exercising their Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms. Now, I also mentioned, of course, a couple of amendments there, 14th and the 2nd, but also the 10th has come up a bit, and just not exactly in the filings here with, of course, Justice Clarence Thomas writing for the majority in this 6-3 decision, but the 10th Amendment has surprisingly come up. I'm always surprised when anyone besides me brings up the 9th and 10th Amendment in general, but specifically the way the 10th Amendment enumerates says that, responsibilities enumerated to the federal government, in which case, being within the Constitution itself there, as specifically enumerated, being thought as also applying therefore this and the, of course, ATF, among other things, to the federal sphere, because I've seen some arguments about state rights having different rights here. Another phrase that you may have heard coming up is the whole concept of may issue versus shall issue. Now, of course, the whole proper cause requirement in New York goes further than just that, but essentially it falls within under the category of may issue. Really, it depends on who the burden of proof is for a person applying for a concealed handgun license for those states that require such things. Of course, Texas, among others, is now one of the states that does not require any level of licensure in order to do that, but there are states that do still require for concealed carry purposes or open carry purposes or any kind of carry that still require licensing. There are, again, different levels. Essentially, may issue means that the burden of proof is on you individually to prove that, and they are not thereby rotely required to issue it to you. Or in shall issue, the burden of proof will then be on the issuing authority, being either, local sheriff's departments in some cases, or usually the state in general. That is generally the minority of states that actually allow this now. I know that, yes, citing Wikipedia is not a great way to do it here, but in this case, it actually is borne out a little bit that the handful of may issue states, California, Connecticut, Delaware, Hawaii, Maryland, Massachusetts, New Jersey, New York, and Rhode Island, with California, New York amongst the some of the most restrictive. Huge surprise there. And so a lot of column inches and digital ink being taken up with this whole subject here. And essentially what the Supreme Court did in this, because sure, Thomas's majority decision and writing for the majority was pretty sweeping. Some of the concurrent decisions reined it in a bit and provided a little bit more perspective on what could or could not be done, essentially saying making a higher standard than it is a right and you have to justify your use of it is no longer going to be allowable. And yes, there are a number of states I've seen coming in from places such as Maryland and New York potentially having now to declare special sessions, and specifically New York Governor Hochul plans to call a special session with the state legislature to address the Supreme Court ruling, and specifically, of course, their law being overturned. That technically is still on the books, and the case will be sent back to a lower court, which could give New York State a grace period to adopt a new law. And Hochul said she expects state lawmakers there to do that in July. So we'll see how other states respond to this. But of course, the question may come up, well, what does this mean in Texas? Texas isn't even just a may issue state. It's a no issue state. As long as you are legally qualified to be able to have and possess a firearm, you're able to then carry one on your constitutional carry or permitless carry, as it's often being referred to. So the idea of this having changed here, I know some were questioning, okay, what might this mean for such things as the 30-6 and 30-7 prohibitions on carrying of them within different facilities. To my reading and everything that I've been seeing, including from sources that I trust, points to those essentially still being viable. Now, of course, that's why some of the subsidiary decisions, the supporting and concurrent decisions, are the more useful ones in this case. Clarence Thomas's was pretty broad and non-specific to saying, no, this law does not apply, but not applying then many much standards for then other things to look at to follow on, often setting the standards, such as what Justice Clarence Thomas's decision did, among other things, was more or less dismantling this two-part test that had previously been in place for the Supreme Court when it came to gun law, saying that this essentially enhanced requirement violates the Second Amendment, again, as applied through the 14th Amendment. But then the other opinions came a little bit further in, saying that, of course, there can be restrictions on where they are able to be carried, depending on security requirements or other things. So I wouldn't personally expect, we'll see exactly what Governor Greg Abbott has to say about this. That's still kind of pending, and a lot more focus being happening probably on the legislators coming from Texas that have been involved in some of these national discussions on guns. So maybe a lack of attention at this moment, but I'm sure we'll get there before too long. Essentially saying that, well, I would fully expect that the, again, restrictions that can be put up by, individual businesses and locations will probably stand within the state of Texas. Again, there's always, whenever new Supreme Court decisions come out, questions of, okay, what might the next case be that could impact it? And essentially, until that happens, there is a bit of a question mark on the idea. But given the fact that we have seen the expansion of, along with the accessibility of the right to carry in the state of Texas, as has been done by the few subsequent legislatures now, Then, of course, them further extending the ability to restrict any individual location based on the owner, operator, or occupant of that location. I don't think necessarily there's going to be much appetite for wanting to remove that by any means, or that they would be invalidated by this. That's one of the major questions that has, of course, come up. And before anyone thinks that, okay, well, that means I'm just going to go out and open carry in any state I want based on this, that would be a mistake in my mind, because among other things, again, restrictions can still be done in place, including permitting, that there would still have a requirement within a particular state to be permitted. As I have very long said, just owning a gun doesn't mean that you have any idea what to do with it. Just like owning a car without having any training on it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be able to go and do any kind of dirt rally, NASCAR, anything. You need to know what you're doing. So being trained is a very good thing that, regardless of whatever the law is anywhere, I'm going to personally pursue. And that, of course, still applies in other states as well. So Texas, I don't see many impacts coming from this, but it still would make sense, particularly if you're traveling, going other places, even in the light of this, that you might want to consider extra licensure and training, particularly with those reciprocity states. Texas's license to carry still has reciprocity in other states. I want to say something along the lines of Florida has one of the most reciprocity, one of the most otherwise accepted permits on their own. So it still may behoove you to do so here. So a lot of focus on this and a lot of comments coming out on all of this here. John Benson saying, among other things, it's fascinating how many people are defending a system that distributed gun carry licenses based upon how many bribes, among other things he's saying there, you supplied to cops in the license office. Yeah, that's not, I'm not going to say that's a good system, though I'm not sure I saw the exact same kind of evidence you're looking at there, though he did post up a reference there. I don't think that was necessarily written into that particular law, but again, it has been, overturned. And a lot of commentary coming in on this. Eric saying a government cannot dictate the rights of a citizen to carry arms. As a business or property owner, I can dictate. An interesting and important distinction probably to be made there. And Calvin Williams saying that, people who want to carry a gun will do more research on gun laws than they do for those running for office. Yeah, I don't like the way you put that, but I don't have a particular way to say you're wrong at all. Marky Mandingo commenting on that. I've been to Allen. That is close to Plano. They get taxpayers to fund a $70 million stadium, and then Plano and Frisco built theirs. Property tax rich area that homeowners don't pay the lion's share of taxes. Toyota moved their headquarters to Plano, and imagine the property taxes they pay, unlike Marathon, who owns the refinery. Interesting comparison to be made there. So a lot of different commentary coming in on this, and that's going to lead us through the next break of the hour here right now. We'll go ahead and open up those phone lines as well, as we usually do during this point during the show. So if you're wanting to call in and chime in that way, that number to do so, 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Get to those calls, more commentary, and a whole lot more discussion about everything affecting us here in the borderland after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
On the 54 Patriot, southbound at Trowbridge, El Paso police are blocking the right shoulder there. Another stalled vehicle blocking the left shoulder, two of them on Border Highway eastbound at the 54 Gateway. Rich Bean Boulevard northbound at Montana, an accident reported there, and another crash reported Yarborough southbound at North Loop Drive. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Discover. If you're a valued customer, you deserve a simple gesture of appreciation from your credit card company. And that's why Discover matches all of the cash back you've earned at the end of your first year. Discover. Exceptionally common sense. Learn more at discover.com/match. Limitations apply.
New on Curiosity Stream.
From time to time, we have collisions between asteroids and the Earth.
We track them, we study them, we hope the big one never comes. Don't look up, it's asteroid rush. And alligators. They rarely get sick. They even outlasted the dinosaurs. Could they hold the secret to human longevity?
Their blood could have antibacterial applications.
Wade into the investigation on immortal alligators. Watch now on Curiosity Stream. Annual plans are $20, just $1.67 a month. Visit curiositystream.com.
Radio Earth is here with little tips for a healthier planet. Globally, about 1,000 plants we depend on for food and products need to be pollinated by animals, including coffee, melons, chocolate, almonds, and even tequila. Help stabilize the declining declining honeybee population by planting native plants that they rely on for food, habitat, and nesting. Brought to you by iHeartRadio Earth and the National Environmental Education Foundation. To find more tips for smarter, sustainable living or to take action in your own community, go to iHeartRadio.com/Earth.
They're here, circling over your head, and are tracking you down. You feel overwhelmed, like you can't escape. You need a solution to get your back taxes filed, to put your life back on track. You need someone who can keep the vultures at bay and work directly with the IRS to leverage every opportunity to settle your debt. Edward Areola of United Financial Services is licensed to represent you before the IRS. Don't let the IRS threaten you. You should never need to speak to them directly. Edward does that for you. United Financial Services will help settle your entire IRS tax debt for up to 85% off the original amount owed, including penalties and interest if you qualify. United Financial Services, family owned in El Paso, can be a lifesaver for you. Call 915-500-3255, 915-500-3255, or go to UnitedFinancialEP.com. Call 915-500-3255 now.
Illegal fentanyl is up to 100 times more potent than morphine. A tiny amount is all it takes to cause an overdose. It could be in your drugs, and you wouldn't be able to see it, taste it, or smell it. Learn more at cdc.gov/stop-overdose.
Nobody should have to pay for one-size-fits-all insurance coverage. Liberty Mutual customizes your car and home insurance so you only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty. El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. A lot of ways to interact with the show. Of course, we got the social media, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, either under Talk El Paso or Andrew J. Polk. And also got that phone line open right now. That number to call if you want to get on that way, 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Get those calls here in just a second. A lot of comments coming in. Marky Mandingo, RJ, Eric Von Holstein, Rathlow, Calvin Williams, John Benson, RJ, if I didn't say that already, Kathy Codry, Flaco Jimenez, and more tuning in, chiming in there. Also dropping those likes, which we do appreciate. Ed Clora, Calvin Williams, Monica Cervantes, Robbie Flores, and Flaco Jimenez. Just helps with those algorithmic things here. Marky making an interesting point here. Previously, at a cost to get a concealed carry permit, but open carry was free. Open carry just once due to the looky-loos at Walmart bothering me and asking questions, and even the security came and asked me to cover it, and I explained the law changed, but I decided I didn't have the cojones to do that again. Remember when Jerome Tillman open carried a huge Taurus Judge and had it positioned for cross draw, but he was hasn't exuded it well. No one messes with a 6'2" ex-Army Ranger. So yeah, that was of course the circumstance. Texas did have permitless open carry, but concealed carry, or is it the other way around? Anyway, it's all, of course, permitted now, though New Mexico is, right across the border here. One of the more interesting ones where it's actually, now I'm questioning myself. One is legal and the other one requires you to have a permit for it. So it's worth noting. I do believe it's concealed carry that requires a permit still within the state of New Mexico. But now that I am questioning myself with all of these things moving, let me double check before you quote me on that. And I'm wondering if I maybe have been doing it wrong. In any case, yeah, there's differences in laws and changes. So again, with this Supreme Court decision, I don't think there will be a ton of changes in this immediate area right off the bat. We'll, again, see what comes out of this impending Texas legislative session. That's us being about halfway through the year now. Yeah, we're going to have potentially a lot of laws. And, of course, they're already being worked on right now as the process definitely goes. So I'm sure we'll see something probably further based off of this, though, again, immediately, I don't think it really affects many Texas laws. If you got one that you got in mind, let me know. Let's go to those phone lines right now. Again, that number to call, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Do we have Ben on the east side here with us right now? Ben, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Andrew. Do you find it a little curious that we have a government that just has banned menthol cigarettes and Juul vaping means of smoking, and and we have the same government that is condoning opening up marijuana smoke shops, high potency. They're having people smoke high potency marijuana that also causes problems with the lungs. In fact, cannabis smoke has a carcinogen in it that is about 50% more than cigarettes.
I guess
called benzopyrene.
And the level of tar in it.
Isn't that a little bit strange?
I mean, yes and no. Yes, that, I mean, these things happening simultaneously, it makes sense to say, like, okay, how is this happening? But what I'm going to say no is that it's not the same government, more specifically, because, of course, the banning and removal of sale of Juul pods, any JUUL products from the shelves, that, of course, coming out from the federal level, and marijuana still federally a scheduled substance and completely prohibited, which is why even within the state of New Mexico, you go through some of those checkpoints of Border Patrol and CBP, you're going to have a bad day if they're open that day, that is. Anyway, so that's why the finer point is technically not the same government that's doing it, though, of course, it's not totally out of the range of possibility that the federal government, we'll see if there's any ever bills coming through of subsequent Congresses, could potentially get on board with it, but technically not at the moment.
But that is what, I mean, all this legalization of marijuana throughout the country, the powers that be in the federal government, they're all pushing for legalization of marijuana, and okay, so it's state governments or whatever, but they're pushing it, and they're going to ban menthol cigarettes.
I know that.
I mean, it doesn't, in a parallel universe, it doesn't make any sense.
I mean, they've been working on flavored tobacco and vaping products for a minute here. So, I mean, I've heard them for the possibility of doing that. I don't think, particularly in an election year, that they're going to have a good response for getting rid of even menthol. But the related products they've been clamping down on for a while now. And of course, I mean, even though the federal government still has it as illegal, all the things happening at the state level essentially do require a level of tacit approval to be allowed to happen, because I mean, among others, potentially the ATF, but definitely FBI and other federal law enforcement agencies could swoop in to any of these operations and say, hey, you're in violation of literal federal law, we're shutting you down. But of course, even across administrations, since this wave has begun over the last decade or so, it has not happened to that level, despite there being some very interesting phrasing and positions potentially from like some of the heads of the Department of Justice and such. But point is that there is, I guess, a tacit level of approval that has happened there. So to that point, I would say that there is a little bit weird, though. I think Juul specifically has some bad actorness with them, including how they may or may not have been tacitly marketing in their own way to underage. So I think a little bit in that case, they have reaped what they've sown. But to the larger effort you're talking about the removal of products and their marketing to youngers, I guess I could see how you might see just a little bit of smacking of hypocrisy there.
Yeah, and the FDA has ordered Juul products to be removed from the U.S. market, and they also ordered the sale of menthol cigarettes from being removed. So, I mean, they've actually done this. They cannot be sold or distributed, the FDA said, and menthol, and they included tobacco and menthol flavored devices. So, I mean, we're talking about they've actually done it. So, I don't know. It just seems like it sounds like they're more interested in keeping marijuana and high potency marijuana out. And knowing what high potency marijuana does to people's minds and how it has an effect on people getting upset about things. maybe the cause of people, having these mass shootings, everything. It just doesn't make sense to me, and I'm afraid I lost my train of thought there for a minute, and I apologize.
That's all right here. I mean, tell you what, we're going to have to end up taking that break right now. So technically, the Food and Drug Administration taking public comments through July 5th on this issue. So it's not a done deal yet, though. Anytime a rule gets proposed, yeah, it means it's well along its way, possibly without anything else necessarily intervening here. So thank you for the point in the call. We got to take that next break right now. Coming out of this break, we get to more on everything that we got going on with you here and the laws, changes, everything we got talking about. So stay tuned. We'll talk El Paso after this break with more here on News Radio 690 KTSM.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
On the 54 Patriot, southbound at Trowbridge, El Paso police are blocking the right shoulder there. Another stalled vehicle blocking the left shoulder, two of them on Border Highway eastbound at the 54 Gateway. Rich Bean Boulevard northbound at Montana, an accident reported there, and another crash reported Yarborough southbound at North Loop Drive. Gary Edwards, El Paso traffic.
690 is KTSM AM El Paso, an iHeart radio station.
NBC News Radio, I'm Chris Coraggio. Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas is celebrating his birthday by writing a major gun rights opinion. He turned 74 today and authored the majority opinion that overturned New York's concealed carry weapons law. In a 6-3 opinion, the court ruled people can carry a handgun for self-defense. The case involved a challenge to whether states can decide who receives a concealed carry license. Former Acting Attorney General Jeffrey Rosen says that former President Trump often complained that the Justice Department wasn't doing enough to investigate claims of widespread voter fraud. During a hearing of the January 6th House Committee today, Rosen said Trump told him to publicly say that the election was corrupt and then leave the rest to Trump and Republican allies in Congress. Former Acting Deputy Attorney General Richard Donahue testified that he repeatedly told Trump his claims were baseless.
Based on actual investigations, actual witness interviews, actual reviews of documents, these allegations simply had no merit.
Rosen and Donahue were promoted after the resignation of Attorney General Bill Barr, who told Trump that claims of a stolen election were nonsense. $1 billion is going to the victims of the Surfside, Florida condo collapse. A judge gave that final approval today. The money will go to the surviving families, people who suffered injuries, and the 136 condo owners of Champlain Towers South. Tomorrow marks 1 year since the towers partially collapsed, killing 98 people. The chief White House COVID advisor is cheering the authorization of vaccines for kids under 5. Dr. Ashish Jha insisted the vaccines are safe and effective for young children. He said the benefits clearly outweigh the risks. Jha again urged any unvaccinated American to go get shots. The market is closing higher even as recession fears linger. Sectors like utilities, real estate, and healthcare were the top performers in today's session. At the closing bell, the Dow Jones Industrial Average gained 194 points to 3677. The S&P 500 added 35 points to 3795. The Nasdaq jumped 179 points to 11232. I'm Chris Coraggio, NBC News Radio. Plans to build a second Rivian electric car factory in Georgia are getting a lot of pushback. Those against the $5 billion plan asked a judge this week to overturn Morgan County's agreement with the company. They believe the deal violates the state constitution. The project would allow Rivian to avoid paying $700 million in future property taxes. State and local officials are offering a $1.5 billion incentive package for the company to build in East Atlanta. A single red rosebud from the bouquet given to Jackie Kennedy at Dallas Love Field on November 22nd, 1963 is up for auction today. Also on the auction block is an original press pass for JFK's presidential visit to Dallas the day he was assassinated. The items belong to Jay Watson, the first journalist to break the news of the assassination on TV. Dealey Plaza is just a few blocks from the TV station where Watson worked as program director in 1963. A bloodhound named Trumpet is the winner of the 2022 Westminster Kennel Club Dog Show. Mark Mayfield fills us in.
Trumpet beat over 3,000 other purebred dogs looking to take the title of Best in Show. The goal is to find the dog that best represents the breed ideal, and Trumpet succeeded, becoming the first bloodhound to ever win Best in Show at Westminster. He now holds the top spot that was previously held by last year's winner, Wasabi the Pekingese. I'm Mark Mayfield.
Broadway's long-running hit Chicago is about to become the second show in history to play 10,000 performances. The show has seen its slew of stars play the show's leading roles over the years, including Liza Minnelli, Christy Brinkley, and even Pamela Anderson. On Saturday, the show will play its 10,000th performance. The Phantom of the Opera is the only other Broadway hit to reach the 10,000 performance mark. Internet sensation turned boxer Jake Paul's next fight is set. He'll share the squared circle with Tommy Fury in New York City on August 6th. The brother of heavyweight champ Tyson Fury will look to give Paul his first professional loss. In the co-main event, WBC and WBO women's featherweight champion Amanda Serrano will put her belts on the line against contender Brenda Carbajal. I'm Chris Coraggio, NBC News Radio.
Now your chance to win $1,000. Just enter this nationwide keyword on our website. Pay. That's pay. Enter it now.
This report is sponsored by Indeed.com. Second half of the year looking busier than the first? Hire with Indeed. Their powerful platform makes it easy to attract, interview, and hire candidates in one place. Sponsor a job and immediately get a short list of quality candidates. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
Every child is different, and learning isn't always easy. But when you find the right teacher in the right school with the right curriculum, one day it just clicks. The right school for your child is out there, and the good news is it's only a click away. Texas Online Preparatory School is a tuition-free online school with state-licensed teachers that give students the personalized attention they need to succeed. K12.com/Texas Online, where education clicks.
M1EP.com, superior multifamily property management services citywide.
Hey El Paso, Ivan Ochoa, General Manager of Sunland Park Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram Fiat. We make car buying fast, fun, and easy. And due to high demand, we need trades. So we'll do whatever it takes to get you out of your old vehicle into a new car, truck, or SUV today.
Even if you owe thousands more than your trade is worth, we want it, so you can get huge savings on every new and certified pre-owned vehicle in our huge inventory. For a limited time, get $4,000 off MSRP on the all-new 2022 full-size Wagoneer SUV with third-row seating and up to $7,000 off select new Ram trucks. Super low 2.9% APR for 72 months on the all-new 2022 Dodge Charger. All military personnel and all first responders receive an additional discount. Thank you for your service. Trade and upgrade for less during the Make the Switch event at Sunland Park Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. Where buying a car is fun. At I-10 at Sunland Park Drive or online at sunlandparkdodge.com. Estamos en tu esquina El Paso strong. Includes factory rebate and dealer discount plus TTNL. 2.9% APR is $15.15 per thousand finance on select vehicles. 0 down with approved credit. Offers not combined.
Stay tuned and stay informed with News Radio 690, KTSM, an iHeart radio station.
In 2007, Marine First Lieutenant Travis Manion was killed in Iraq after saving his wounded teammates. Travis's legacy lives on through the words he spoke before his final deployment. If not me, then who? Words that today fuel the spirit of Travis Manion Foundation. And through TMF, these words can live in you too. Show the world what you're made of, because character is invisible until it's not. Find out how you can strengthen the character of your community alongside empowered veterans, families of the fallen, and inspired civilians at travismanion.org.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the many pages we're up on these days over on social media, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. We got a lot of people on the line here because we also got that phone line full up at the moment. But if you want to squeeze in a little bit later, 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Some of the comments coming in as well. Kathy Cordry, as part of that last caller, saying ban all cigarettes. I'm taking you to mean there. And RJ saying that, yeah, the vaping might be the worst. Again, just to clarify, in case I got too crunched at the end of the last hour there, again, the FDA taking public comment through July 5th of this year on a proposed rule against the manufacture and sale of menthol cigarettes and all flavored cigars. That was announced back in April, but again, the whole way that the federal rules-making process works, unless you've been involved with it, it may seem a little Byzantine, and it kind of is, but this rule has been proposed, public comment period, and then they will make their determination. So this is what happened when an agency essentially deals with their well-assigned regulatory area. Those involved in firearms and the firearms industry may be more familiar with this than not, because that tends to happen quite a lot when it comes to the ATF. But again, slightly separate issue, though somewhat related to what we're discussing today with some of those cases. Before we get to those calls, one other thing I want to mention here is that other case that I was talking about here, of course, the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association, Inc. versus Buren, the one that 6-3 vote that is overturning the lack of permissiveness issue in New York and by, well, essentially de facto other states as well. But there's also Vega versus Tico. Tekoh, Vega, Vega versus Tico, one that is having some implications for the whole Miranda rights, that thing that every cop show focuses on. But we'll get into that more here once we get a spare moment in the conversation. Just wanted to mention that one, as that is also a significant one from today that is falling a little bit by the wayside. But of course, anyone who's just wondering about when that potential Roe v. Wade decision comes out, there's a lot. This has been quite the busy session here. Let's go back to those phone lines right now. Again, that number to call if you want to squeeze in, 915-544-5876-544 KTSM. We do have Al in the Northeast on the line here with us right now. Al, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for taking my call once again, Andrew. I wanted to address this. I didn't catch the gentleman's name, Mr. Menthol. Apparently that's his poison of choice. He was kind of upset about it, but he completely missed the point of legalization of marijuana, and that is that the industry and moreover the government can now make millions of dollars collecting taxes on this. And this is my prediction that as soon as enough politicians and corporate people get all of the strings tied up to their bank accounts for the legalization, that we're going to see it go legal federally.
Oh, yeah.
And that way they can make money not only on the sale, but on the penalization, through the courts, on all levels of politics.
Potentially. I mean, the one wrinkle I would say in what you're looking at there, because we've already seen former lawmakers for the most part. Again, John Boehner is the one that always lives in my head whenever I think about this specific subject. He's, of course, gotten involved in with himself, but it's going to, to my understanding, it's going to take federal legalization for allowing literally bank accounts to be attached to it, because it's pretty much a cash business right now, because any multi-state bank, which you pick one that you're going to want to actually be bothering to bank with, and even those that are involved in the national banking system at all, are not allowed to take and deal with any of these funds. So there's been a resurgence of essentially, armored cars dropping off money and dealing with it here, because it all has to be handled that way. So that's about the only reason I would think that actually the linking of the bank accounts you're talking about there would have to be as a result of legalization and not a driving force for it.
Well, you can bet your bottom dollar that the bank executives and all the corporate people have got all this figured out from every angle that you can possibly conceive. I did want to make one comment. You were talking earlier about the local government, the council and everything, and it always seems I hear about they have these grand esoteric projects, and then they can't keep the streets fixed in this town, but they can manage to give themselves periodic raises without doing the fundamental things that are necessary to keep the city moving. And again, I mentioned the torn up cities in this city are just outrageous.
No, yeah, the streets, the amount of work going on with those, both from the state level and the local level, is intense at points. I may or may not have made some recent housing decisions based on what is going on with the roads or the status of the road that the house is on, kind of thing here. So yeah, it's certainly a major issue.
I recently drove up Mesa Hills. I do business in that area, and that's worse than driving on the worst country roads I've ever seen. And I grew up on farms, and the gravel roads where I grew up are in much better condition than the streets in this city. The council needs to focus themselves on what counts or get out of there.
I mean, we've talked about this a bit, even with some of our other, partners in news locally, including El Paso Inc., that, anytime we start talking roads, everyone has, you'd be hard pressed, at least in this city, with public transit being kind of a thing, but otherwise you have to get out and get your own vehicle in some form or another to get about anywhere and do anything. The roads are that real democratizing factor of something we all deal with daily. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense that people often have some very strong opinions about it, including yourself.
Okay. Thank you, Andrew. I'll probably talk to you again tomorrow.
Appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Have a good one there. All right. We've got time for another call here before we hit that next break. Again, that number to call is 915-544-5876-544 KTSM. Calvin Williams, quick question from him. When SCOTUS Supreme Court makes a ruling, we get a report of why the decision was made by the majority. Do they also have a report of why the minority voted against it? Yes, actually. They're called the minority briefs, oddly enough. And yes, there were at least a couple in the, I guess, dissenting briefs is the actual technical term for it. And yes, they are out there. Maybe we'll delve into those here more in just a bit. Yeah, it's specifically in the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association Incorporated versus Buren. Breyer filed a dissenting opinion, and Justices Sotomayor and Kagan joined. Essentially, every vote requires an opinion to go with it. So, in short answer, yes, there is. So we'll delve more into that. I'll admit I was focused mostly on the majority decision and brief here today, but we'll see if we can get more into that. And I'm sure you can look it up yourself, but we'll have more discussion on that for sure. Let's get to another call here. We do have Raul in Northeast on the line here with us right now. Raul, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Andrew. So guns and pot, profit centers and personal rights, big issues, obviously. Yeah, I was watching Trump being eviscerated and crucified by Speaker Pelosi in the Congressional January 6th Committee, with the truth of Trump's crimes and coup being exposed. One of the headlines was "High Drama as January 6th Hearing Details Trump's Efforts to Corrupt Justice Department." Former DOJ officials describe how they resisted Trump's relentless pressure, calling him every day, Christmas Eve, New Year's Eve. And the January 6th Commission committee members have been getting death threats. You know where they're coming from? Trump's mad mobs and lemmings in his cult. I like the death threats that GOP Congressman Adam Kinzinger got. And summing up the hearing, said that Trump's continuing to push the lie of a stolen election and pressure his officials to break the laws was about protecting his very real power and very real fragile ego, even if it required recklessly undermining our entire electoral system by wildly casting faceless doubts upon it. And he went on to say, in short, he was willing to sacrifice our republic to prolong his presidency. I can imagine no more dishonorable act by a president. Trump considered, and now it comes out that he was considering blanket pardons for everyone involved in January 6th. And they asked one of the persons there, a gentleman by the name of John McAtee, White House Presidential Personnel Office, in a taped deposition, that he said he witnessed Trump having conversations about the possibility of blanket pardons for all those involved in January 6th, including his family members. So Kissinger said, he responded by saying, the only reason I know to ask for a pardon is because you think you have committed a crime. And they also outed these Congress people who were looking for these pardons: Matt Gaetz, Scott Perry, Texas Republican nut Louis Gohmert, Representative Andy Biggs, Representative Paul Gosar, Representative Mo Brooks, who, by the way, says he's willing to testify to the committee. That's got to be good. They've all asked for pardons. So, Andrew, do you think that there's any truth behind what all these people are saying and what the commission's work is about?
I mean, I think the commission is looking at some interesting events there, though I do find it very interesting that your primary quotations you're bringing forth there is from one of the committee members. I mean, sure, there were some interesting things and, descriptions coming out from members of the part of the administration at the point in time. And I'll freely admit I was incorrect when I said yesterday that I didn't think there was going to be a hearing today. There have been later of the hearings that have been further rescheduled, according to the chairman, Benny Thompson, representative there. So was incorrect about that, we'll freely admit. But the quotation you're pulling there about the implications on the former president there was from one of the committee members himself making one of his closing statements. So we're not exactly fully talking about evidence, quote unquote, as you're putting it here. We're talking about the conclusions that are being drawn and therefore presented. It would be like saying, well, the lawyer said this, therefore it must be true. And that's, of course, not exactly the phrase. If this were even, again, a actual, judicial proceeding, of which it is not. This is a legislative proceeding. And they even also said themselves, because yes, once I realized the hearing was going on, I was listening myself. There was, of course, going into the fact that this is not a legal proceeding and charges, except for some of these potential contempt of Congress, ones that have been separate from this, may come out of this. It's not a legal proceeding. It is, by its very nature, a legislative one, which will not come out of the same things, meaning that it has a legislative and therefore political goal to it. So as much as there may be interesting things and things that I guess I don't particularly find surprising, to it, particularly if we're talking about some of the proclivities of the former president. You didn't think that he was going to call everyone in his administration he thought involved with it every day after the election results came out. You really wouldn't think that would have happened. I'm assuming that if you found out that he wasn't calling them every day, you'd think something was wrong with him. Like, let's be honest here. So some things are, I guess, mildly interesting and surprising. Some things, yeah, may just kind of make a level of sense. So if you're asking truly if you think that this will be useful, again, the phrase I keep going back to because I have yet to see it be anything but, essentially it's a performance for the public. That's the purpose of this, literally politically. And I mean that not necessarily, and then therefore there is no substance to it, but to say that, yes, this is the investigation would also be just flatly technically incorrect, because this is not the investigation. They are shining light on things, as they also did say, but then we'll hope others do something about it. That's really the core of it here. So do I think that anything will actually come out of this? We'll see, particularly if there are any of particularly Justice Department employees and staff that do anything resulting out of this. But I guess, and I know I'm going to catch some flack for this, I see a lot of similarity in terms of the presentation and the favor being talked about between this and, say, the Benghazi hearings. In terms of there may have been a core issue to needing to be explored here and maybe investigated, but that the actual hearings and the performance going on with them is mostly focused around the person thought to be at the center of it. In this case, of course, the former president, Donald Trump, and more or less affecting his future chances at elected office. That's really what I seem the same at. And if you see it a different name, would be very curious to know if that is, well, reality. Anyway, we got to take that next break right now. We go through more calls after the break. Phone line's full up again, but if you want to squeeze in that number to do so, 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned. We, of course, congratulate the winners that we have for the Father's Day giveaway from Gentleman's Republic Barber Salon and Men's Spa. If you haven't already checked your email, make sure you're looking for your spam to make sure you didn't miss the announcement, because we'll just need to get the information so you can come and pick up your prize. But even if you missed out on that, I mean, I'll be getting my next level of services here soon, but you can always schedule your own appointment by giving them a call at 915-532-3000. That's 915-532-3000, or find them at 1712 North Mesa or online at gentsrepublic.com, because they've got everything you need to be a well-groomed gentleman in this modern day and age. Whether you've got the beard, you don't have the beard, looking for the clean shave, hair and beard styling, and a whole lot more services in a great location just down the street from our studios here in an old Trost building. It's a great place to be. Go in, get the beverage of your choice, and truly enjoy the act of good grooming. So again, find them online, gentsrepublic.com or 915-532-3000, or again, gents, G-E-N-T-S, republic.com.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
I-10 westbound at Joe Battle, a wide load semi is blocking the right shoulder, stayed far to the left. 54 Patriot southbound at Trowbridge, right shoulder is blocked by police on investigation. On the border highway westbound at Midway, a stalled vehicle is blocking the right side, and an accident reported Montwood Drive eastbound at Lee Trevino. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Active 6. Has your household been hit with COVID-19? Learn about a research study from the comfort of home. The Active 6 study is looking at ways to help people with COVID-19 feel better faster. Learn more at active6study.org/radio. That's activ6study.org/radio.
If you're 45 or older, this message could save your life. Health experts now recommend starting regular colorectal cancer screening at age 45. Colorectal cancer is a leading cause of cancer death, but it's preventable through regular screening. There are more screening options than ever before, including at-home tests. You've got the guts to prevent colorectal cancer. Talk to your doctor about your options and visit cdc.gov/screen4life.
Hey, it's Mario Courtney Lopez, and we know life is better together.
Smart Mouth mouthwash gives us the confidence to make life's moments amazing.
We are all getting together more, and Smart Mouth's 24-hour power of fresh breath with just 2 rinses a day keeps us from worrying about bad breath in those up-close moments.
Go to smartmouth.com/radio to save 20%, or find Smart Mouth at your favorite store to give you confidence as we get closer to each other.
Remember to make life's moments better together with Smart Mouth at smartmouth.com/radio.
Hey, I'm Andy,
If you don't know me, it's probably because I'm not famous. But I did start a men's grooming company called Harry's. The idea for Harry's came out of a frustrating experience I had buying razor blades. Most brands were overpriced, overdesigned, and out of touch. At Harry's, our approach is simple. Here's our secret. We make sharp, durable blades and sell them at honest prices for as low as $2 each. We care about quality so much that we do some crazy things, like buy a world-class German blade factory. Obsessing over every detail means we're confident in offering a 100% quality guarantee. Millions of guys have already made the switch to Harry's, so thank you if you're one of them. And if you're not, we hope you give us a try with this special offer. Get a Harry starter set with a 5-blade razor, weighted handle, shave gel, and a travel cover, all for just $3 plus free shipping. Just go to harrys.com and enter 6699 at checkout. That's harrys.com, code 6699. Enjoy.
KTSM AM El Paso is News Radio 690, an iHeart radio station.
Text and whatever. Just don't text and drive. Visit StopTextsStopWrecks.org. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
News Radio 690, KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. A lot of ways to get and interact with the show. Of course, we got those social media pages, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, which has the streaming commentary going on throughout the program here. The Thunderdome comments definitely going on over there today, primarily the facebook.com/Talk El Paso, but similar names under either, again, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. You can find us and leave your 2 cents. A lot of people chiming in: Kathy Codry, Matt Olson, Maria Kallman, Eric von Holstein-Rathlow, Michael Perez, Ravi Flores, and a whole lot more. Calvin Williams a little bit before that, as well as our dividend, Matt Olson, and of course Marky Mendigo, of course. And then dropping those likes and reacts, we do appreciate. We have Marky Mendigo, Ed Clore, Calvin Williams, Monaco Cervantes, Ravi Flores, and Flaco Jimenez. Marky Mendigo, among other things, chiming in on the idea that the roads are terrible. They repave Wrestler, but for to stripe it, and it's a I'm going to say poop shoot to navigate the right lane. And yeah, it's an interesting time sometimes. I appreciate the restriping they've been doing in a lot of ways, but when they move them, I'm like, okay, how many people are just driving on autopilot and out of muscle memory at this point, and how many more issues might this cause? So yeah, issues to be had there. So a lot more comments coming in on a lot of these issues here, including Maria Coleman saying the banning of menthol cigarettes largely impact minority city residents, and availability will become a black market venture. Cigarettes are a major factor in heart disease and cancer in the U.S., resulting in the loss of life and high health care expenditures. Prohibiting a product is never effective. I will say that, reading up more on it during the break here, that some of the rule proposal coming out from the FDA, among others, is mostly along the manufacture and distribution, not necessarily the use or possession of. So pretty much saying that, yeah, we're going to clamp down on the supply, but not necessarily as a, like, if you want to roll your own, I guess, not really an issue, but I think that the kids, this child aspect of it, that's why you've seen this rollback of flavored in all the ways that it has, both from, vape liquids and everything, because of that potential impact that has been seen, at least one of the major reasons I've seen over recent years. Let's go back to those phone lines right now. Again, the number to call there if you want to squeeze in a little bit later. Full up at the moment, but that number to call is 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. We do have Marco and Central on the line with us here right now. Marco, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Andrew, how's it going?
Doing all right there. What's on your mind?
Hey, what is going on with Baghdad Raul over there? Like, he is, like, complete NPC mode all the time. Trump. You know what? I bet you if you get Raul in a conversation, he's probably an amazing human being. But he has a bad case of target lock. So let's pray for the best, and hopefully he comes back to reality here. But the reason I'm calling you is I was thinking, when I call you, I want to make a point, and I want to make a point because I think it's important, the conversation. This is why you have such a good show. You allow people to express themselves, sometimes to their detriment, but you do. And okay. And I was thinking of the principles of Bushido. life in every breath, to take the day in and understand that we're all dying every day. And life is precious. It's long and it's short. And I heard the other day on The Blaze on YouTube a conversation with Sotomayor. You know, I like her. She's a liberal. Obviously, I don't agree with her. But she had such a beautiful thing to say about Clarence Thomas and the difference between individuals and how you can be different and yet enjoy the person in front of you, because yes, you can be adversarial, but you can be friendly. And honor has been lost in our society. You know, back then, you know, when duels would happen or even men would meet in the field of battle, it wasn't just like, here, let's go kill each other. These people would actually meet in the center and have conversations. And it's a principle in Bushido to have the conversation, to learn about your enemy, understand your enemy, befriend your enemy. And that's been lost today. And so I think often, like, you know, I call your show and it's easy for me to put myself out there in kind of, there's a glass that keeps, you know, the barrier, and I can say whatever I want, but I want to start engaging people. And so I know I spoke with you about a little something earlier, and the reason I want to state this, and I want people to engage me, is because it's important that we start breaking the boundaries of adversarial enemies and start becoming friends again with those that we disagree with, because they will become your best friends. And so I own a restaurant. I know I've called in many times. I want people to come visit and have a conversation with me. I want to do more for the city. My family and I have committed to keep the prices in our restaurant the same that they've been for the last 10 years. And so I own Valentina's Restaurant at 425 South Oregon. I want people to come and talk. I'm not inviting people to come and argue and battle. That's not what I want. Come in, eat, and let's have a beautiful conversation, because that's been lost in society. One of the most beautiful things that I remember when I visited Europe, and I love Germany, is the ability that you could just go up to strangers and sit down and get to know each other, talk. It doesn't matter who you are, your differences, your people. We're all human beings in this blue little dot floating around the galaxy, the universe, and really, time is short. We should all get to know each other and stop being so adversarial. Yes, we can be political adversaries, but we're not enemies. And so I won't damn the Democrats today. I do invite them to come eat and have a beautiful conversation. Thanks a lot, Andrew.
No, sure thing. Thank you for the point of the call, and I'll have to take you up on that myself here one of these days. What I'll say is this. What comes to mind whenever people talk about the idea of there being political opponents that can still stand each other, which may even sound like a far breadth to cross in this day and age, but the example that comes to mind is Ruth Bader Ginsburg and Antonin Scalia, two Supreme Court justices, of course, from the previous generation of them, that were about as ideologically opposed as you can get, and yet were pretty close friends by most accounts, attending the opera together. They had a shared love for that, so they did not let ideological differences, even about very serious issues, very core issues, get in the way of being able to have a robust discussion, have that deliberation, come to their separate decisions, and then not necessarily leave that behind and say, well, we won't worry about that right now, but say that, okay, we disagree on this, but there are other things that we can still enjoy together and deal with. Because this idea of, well, I mean, like at the dinner table, oh, we don't discuss politics or religion, I don't think that has served us well, because, well, without a discussion, then it's just leaving it simmering and unaddressed. So, like, address it, come to it, and then come to whatever common ground can be had, or say, well, we're going to have to agree to disagree on this point. In the meantime, what you doing for dinner kind of thing. Like, that level of interaction almost sounds alien in the way the discourse goes these days, and I don't think it needs to be, but there's a whole lot of people that are very invested in this all or nothing ideal about how things should work this day that have never really worked that way, and I doubt it'll go the way even they think it will if they were to achieve that goal.
I completely agree.
All right, well, thank you very much for the point in the call. I do appreciate it. You have a good one.
You first, brother. Thank you.
All right. I think we have time for one more quick call before we hit that next break right now. Again, that number to call, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. We do have Frankie and Messia on the line here with us right now. Frankie, thanks for joining us.
All right, right out of the box. So much to talk about, so little time.
Mm-hmm.
I want to share with all of you out there in the Southwest border region, especially Craven, Kevin, and Terrible Tony, Awful Andrew, not you, Andrew, the other guy, and then Junkyard Jerry. I want you to tune in to Netflix or however you want to do it and watch that movie, Raiders of the Lost Ark. There's this guy in there that burns his hand on this medallion, and he looks exactly like this Jeffrey Clark Koch who wanted to get the Donnie Dotor doofus to nominate him for the Attorney General so he could overturn the entire United States of America democracy. You people watch that, and you tell me, you call me back, you call Andrew, I don't care who that you call, and you tell me this guy looks exactly like that Nazi nut job in that movie. Go ahead. You tell me. Go ahead. That's what I want to say.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you for the point in the call there. I guess looking up the picture I can find right now, because I was listening to the hearings, not actually watching them myself here. I guess in the glasses and the shaved head kind of thing, but maybe I don't get it. As for a larger point there, I guess I'm having it missed on me there. So thank you for the point in the call. Appreciate it. We got to take that next break right now. Coming out of this break, we'll get to more calls and more comments on the line here. If you wanted to call in, that number to do so is 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
I'm Selena Madrid with your CBS Forward News Update. We're working to learn more after a person was sent to the hospital after a crash involving a semi-truck. Police say this all happened just after 8 o'clock last night on I-10 West at Geronimo, right in front of Bassett Place. Authorities say the person hit by the truck suffered serious injuries. Investigators are still looking into what led to this crash, and you can count on us to keep you updated both on air and online as more information comes into our newsroom. And that was the second semi-crash along the same stretch of I-10 within 24 hours. You'll remember the westbound lanes of I-10 were also shut down early yesterday morning from Geronimo to Reynolds after a semi rolled onto its side. El Paso police say one person was taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. Investigators haven't determined what led to this crash either, but our CBS 4 News crew spotted damage to a concrete barrier along the freeway, which also shut down parts of I-10 East. I'm Selena Madrid with your CBS 4 News Update.
News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
I-10 westbound at Joe Battle, a stalled big rig. A wide load semi is blocking the right shoulder. Stay left. Border Highway westbound at Midway, stalled vehicle blocking the right shoulder. An injury accident at Montana Avenue at downtown North Kansas Street. And police responding to a crash on Montwood Drive eastbound at Lee Trevino. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, this is Chief Meteorologist Sandra Diaz. We continue to deal with an isolated chance for some showers and storms going into tonight, and then a slightly better chance as we get going into the weekend. So with that said, keep in mind that moisture and daytime heating put together means that we may be dealing with some thunderstorms, and those are the ones that produce heavier rain, possibly some small hail, and some gusty winds.
This report is sponsored by Allstate. Don't drive much. Don't pay much with pay-per-mile insurance from Allstate. Life is good when you're in the driver's seat. At Allstate, better protection costs a whole lot less. Visit allstate.com or call an agent for a quote today.
Hey El Paso, Ivan Ochoa, General Manager of Southern Park Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram Fiat. We make car buying fast, fun, and easy. And due to high demand, we need trades. So we'll do whatever it takes to get you out of your old vehicle into a new car, truck, or SUV today.
Even if you owe thousands more than your trade is worth, we want it, so you can get huge savings on every new and certified pre-owned vehicle in our huge inventory. For a limited time, get $4,000 off MSRP on the all-new 2022 full-size Wagoneer SUV with third-row seating and up to $7,000 off select new Ram trucks. Super low 2.9% APR for 72 months on the all-new 2022 Dodge Charger. All military personnel and all first responders receive an additional discount. Thank you for your service. Trade and upgrade for less during the Make the Switch event at Sunland Park Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. Where buying a car is fun. At I-10 at Sunland Park Drive or online at sunlandparkdodge.com. Estamos en tu esquina El Paso strong. Includes factory rebate and dealer discount plus TTNL. 2.9% APR is $15.15 per thousand finance on select vehicles. 0 down with approved credit. Offers not combined.
Staples offers tech solutions and accessories for learners, small business, and remote workers too. Right now, Apple AirPods Pro are only $199. You save $50. Offer ends 6/25 while supplies last. Limit 2. Explore the latest tech solutions at Staples, the working and learning store. This report is sponsored by Staples Stores.
Traffic's bad enough without Mother Nature adding to your headache. Traffic and weather all day. Stay informed with El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Kids dream big. Protect your child's dreams by keeping them healthy. If your son or daughter is age 11 or 12, the American Cancer Society recommends giving them the HPV vaccine to help prevent HPV cancers later. Learn more at cancer.org/dreambig.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thanks for tuning in however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media platforms here, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, either under Talk El Paso or Andrew J. Polk. Phone lines open now as well, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. A lot of commentary coming in on a lot of different issues. We're covering a lot of ground here today, even more than I totally anticipated, but hey, that's what happens sometimes when we have people bring up interesting and different things. Sometimes both, and sometimes neither. Anyway, let's go back to those some of those comments here. Flock and Menace saying that Marco gave his restaurant a free plug. I mean, we have had interviews with people and such, so everybody gets one, I guess we should say here. That's probably not a way to do it. If I get in trouble with my boss, I know that everything is meant in jest. But, I mean, yeah, talking about things and what that means for them in the community, I think, is an important way to do it. So, I'll let you know how the food is. I think someone said that a little bit earlier. Kathy Codry also said on that idea, I refuse to deal with energy vampires and gaslighting jerks. I mean, just because someone has an opposing viewpoint doesn't mean that you have to embrace them. I mean, you have to respect their ability to have that viewpoint, but I mean, also like interpersonal relations. And if someone's being a jerk, it doesn't matter what their political point is. They're usually just a jerk. And people try to hide behind it. Well, you don't like me because of my politics. Often comes down to it. No, it's also that. But there's still a core point here that I don't care what your politics are. If you're a jerk, you're a jerk. So, no, I'm not going to say that you're required to embrace, I mean, if you want to quote scripture, turn the other cheek. But that's also for those that are, well, seriously, again, supernatural. Is that how we say? Supranatural? Anyway. Back to the phone lines right now. Again, the number to call there, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. We do have Tony on the west side here with us right now. Tony, thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much. You know, I agree with that fellow with the restaurant and calm and collective and makes a lot of sense. The only problem in what he left out is that the devil is loose. In other words, we live in a violent society. When I saw those videos on YouTube of the Antifa people putting gasoline down a policeman's back and lighting them on fire and setting the cities on fire and the looting and the killing. And I mean, that's just a sad situation, but it's a fact of life. And this fella, you know, I have a soup kitchen also. I have a restaurant, but I can't give the address because unlike him, which I think he's a liberal, he sounded like a kumbaya liberal. I don't know. I don't mean that as a slam. But he didn't sound like a Trump supporter, that's for sure. And for those of us who are Trump supporters, we cannot give out the address of our business or our soup kitchen or our ministry or what we do, because some of you Democrats are hell-bent on destroying us. And that's just a sad fact of life. And yeah, it tears me up, but it's where we live in, and it's the world we live in. And that's why it's so important for us to be aware of that other half of the truth. And it's not usually the Trump supporters that are out burning buildings. I mean, we could have burned the whole nation down after what you did to us in this last election. But we didn't do it because it's the Democrats and the liberals and the Antifa people who make their home in the Democrat Party who are the violent and destructive ones who, if Trump had been reelected, which he was, but if they had allowed it to go through, they would have burned half the country down because that's how sick they are. And unfortunately, what the Bible says about the devil being loose is true. Whether you believe it or not, it's just a fact. So with that being said, the other thing I wanted to say is I'm so amazed and disappointed in how smarter the Democrats are than the Republicans. The narrative, I told you before, whoever controls the narrative at the Supreme Court, on this phone, on your show, and across the nation about gun control, that shows you how smart they are, because the narrative is supposed to be secure our schools, the security at our schools, the safety of our children. But because the Democrats are smarter than the Republicans, they're controlling the narrative, which is focusing on reducing our Second Amendment right. And that's another sad thing. And those of you, I always go back to you churchgoers and you people who claim you believe in God. Because let me tell you, you would be better off reading the Bible than going to church, because I can tell you don't know anything about what you're learning in church. They're not teaching you much, is what I'm saying, because the majority will never be on God's side. If you read your Bible, the majority will never be on God's side. God's people will always be a minority in this world, because this world is controlled by the evil one. So that should be a big clue to you. And if you have a party, you want to know which party is the evil one, you just look at the pro-abortion and reduction of individual rights and mass government. And if you read your Bible, you'll find out that the one world government, the globalists, will be the enemies of God. And that's how you know you're in the wrong party. And it's not about Trump. Trump just happens to be the individual that took on the politicians. Now, Andrew, I'll leave you with this. How low does somebody's IQ have to be for them to know for 50 years that Washington is corrupt and full of corruption? And all of a sudden, when one man comes up, within 1 year, a non-politician gets elected, all of a sudden everybody else is lily white pure except the one man that tried to expose the corruption in D.C. That should give you an idea of how brainwashed, especially our patient from the Northeast is, that he should have such a low IQ as to blame one man for the corruption in Washington, D.C., when just before Trump, he knew that there was corruption all over Washington, D.C. It's sad. It's a sad, sad situation in our country, and only going back to prayer and fasting to God Almighty is going to help us. Thank you for your time, Andrew.
No, sure thing. Thank you for the point in the call there. I guess, again, I don't armchair mental health diagnose anyone out there, but a phrase I think about a lot is, how do you know a politician is lying? Their mouth is moving. So yeah, there's a lot to be said about corruption and those trying to do what they want to do. And there was actually a commentary a little bit before here, Raul chiming in again saying the investigation you claim to want done, I think it's too long to show up on screen here, but the investigation you claim you want done is going to be done by the DOJ. Then that's the part that I'm mostly interested in, because again, if you're wondering about the actual fact finding and things like that, as opposed to the sideshow part of it, that's where it'll come from. But there's also, you may notice, a lot of the places involved in investigations often say we do not comment on pending investigations or ongoing investigations, because it tends to be that putting publicity out there of it can tend to compromise the integrity of the information being brought out in it. So just as an aside there, but to your point here, I mean, you're of course very welcome to make your own choices on how you worship, congregate, any of those things. But I think that for those that I know, that whatever church they choose, it's often the community aspect is very important to them, because sure, you could do most of what you're talking about there in the privacy of your own home, but that's also for a lot of people defeating the purpose. But if you're really going to say that you feel that everything is too far gone, I think that maybe it isn't, but only because there are people who are willing to be reasonable about it. And when you're talking about, people rioting, looting, destroying a property as a form of discourse, yes, I'm very familiar with the phrase that a riot is the language of the unheard, and there's a certain level of truth to that. But also to say that there's also the concept of tolerance, I guess, what this really comes down to, the idea of what should be allowable, what should be, even if you disagree with it, allowed to continue on. It's not an absolute concept. It doesn't mean that you need to be tolerant right as you're being fed into the lion's mouth. That's not what that entails, and that means, at least to my understanding and how I choose to interpret it, the idea of tolerance is as long as we can agree on certain basic things, human dignity, right to exist, etc., we can have different ideas as long as they don't infringe on each other. But if you're demanding that I follow you exactly, and that if anything is not allowed with that, it be destroyed, then that would be intolerant in its own way. So yeah, any of this stuff being talked about that happened particularly last summer that I'm hopeful, or the summer before really, and I'm hopeful won't continue on this summer, that would not be under the banner of tolerance in my mind. And I think more than a few reasonable people could stand up and say, no, this should not be allowed to happen, because you are not having discourse at that point. You are destroying things and people's lives, livelihoods, and even maybe their core lives themselves here. So, just a lot of interesting commentary on that, including about Marco's demeanor there. I'll have to go and visit him myself here before too long. Let's get to at least one more call before we hit that next break right now. We do have Jerry in the northwest part of the town area here. Jerry, thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you. I've got more minutes there, Andrew, so I should be able to speak today.
Okay.
Just to answer Tony, the Great Commission is not ended, Tony. We still try to convert them. Make them see the light. Someday they will bow, either now or later. They will bow to Jesus. But my main reason for calling was to answer fascist. Oh, I shouldn't call him that after saying that. Frankie, I don't judge people by the glasses that they wear or how high they are, the smile they got. I judge them by what's in their heart. And apparently you dislike us because we have an R in front of, or we vote normally on the R side, and we do vote on the R side is because, just like the last caller said, is we want to protect the unborn, give them a chance at life. Maybe one of them will come up for the cure of cancer. Oh, wait a minute, that was Joe Biden supposed to do that. And they may have gotten a pill for that already. But maybe they'll cure the cold. I don't know, the next baby that's born. Or write a symphony that makes us all gather together and worship Jesus. Maybe. But anyway, I was just wondering if that guy that plugged his restaurant will allow me to bring my samurai swords. Oh, I shouldn't say that either, being a Christian. Thank you.
Sure thing.
That. Andrew, have a good day.
You as
Bye-bye.
well. Be safe out there, I guess, is what I'm going to choose to say at the end of that. Yeah, well, with concealed carry laws changing here, I get just polite society. I know there's a phrase out there that polite society is an armed society, but it was also predicated on the idea of polite. That's the first and very important part of that phrase. So just keep that in mind if you're making certain determinations about how you're going to spend and deal with your life, is what I'm going to say there. We got to take that break heading into the end of the hour here. So we're going to come back, tell you what we got coming up for you on the show here, squeezing what more we can. So again, stay tuned. More Talk El Paso after this break here on News Radio 690 KTSM. And I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. We got Free For All Friday coming up, so we'll preview a little bit on that and some of the other topics. So stay tuned. Whole lot more here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Don't go anywhere.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
I-10 eastbound at Geronimo Drive, a stalled semi is blocking the right lane. I-10 westbound at Trowbridge, left lane there is blocked by a stalled vehicle. Stay right. Accident reported Mesa Street, northbound at Executive Center Boulevard. Take Brentwood or Stanton instead. And an injury accident downtown Montana Avenue at North Kansas Street. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Liberty Mutual Insurance, where you only pay for what you need.
Liberty. Nobody should have to pay for one-size-fits-all insurance coverage. Liberty Mutual customizes your car and home insurance, so you only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
The job market is competitive right now, so you need to be competitive to attract top talent. If you're trying to fill open positions at your business, iHeartMedia is here to help. Use radio and digital targeting to find fresh, passive candidates currently in the workforce. These candidates are listening right now, looking for new opportunities. Together, we can let the community know you're hiring. Visit iHeartAdvertising.com.
That's iHeartAdvertising.com.
Maybe you've had to put off a health appointment or two during the COVID-19 pandemic. But if you're 45 or older, there's one test you shouldn't put off any longer. Regular screening for colorectal cancer. Colorectal cancer is a leading cancer killer, but it can be prevented with regular screening starting at 45. There are more screening options than ever before, including at-home tests. It takes guts to put your health first. Ask your doctor about your options today. Visit cdc.gov/screen4life for more information.
Hey, good morning. You're heading to the airport, right?
Yep, thanks for checking. I like the car. How long have you been a rideshare driver?
About 3 years now. I really enjoy it.
Isn't it hard to make money these days with the price of gas being so high?
Not for me. I use Upside, the free app that gives you cash back for every gallon of gas you buy.
Wait a minute. Are you saying you actually get real money back when you get gas with the Upside app?
Yep, I get real cash back every time I get gas.
Does that actually add up to anything?
I'll make around $200 to $300.
Wow, that's serious extra cash. I'm downloading the Upside app now.
Download the free Upside app now to earn real cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code RACE for a $5 bonus on your first tank. You can cash out anytime, right to your bank account, PayPal, or gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code RACE for a $5 bonus on your first tank. That's code RACE.
Calling all science heads. Want to win 15 grand in prizes while saving the world? Here's your chance to save our planet by joining the AR Science Fair. Just pick your track, design it, and submit. It's that easy. Winners will even get published. Visit us online for all the details.
M1EP.com. Superior multifamily property management services citywide.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
At the show here again today, I'm going to tell you a little bit about what we're working on for you in future shows because, of course, tomorrow is that ever so important day of the week for us involved in the local political discourse, at least on the radio level anyway. Free for All Friday is what we'll be doing for you tomorrow, where we will be taking your comments and calls throughout both hours of the show. And yes, if there is another significant Supreme Court decision, I fully expect that to overwhelm the entire damn show. But in the meantime, otherwise, frankly, I give it 50-50 odds of that happening or not, just because there's some interesting chatter I've been following about it maybe being the penultimate, if not ultimate, decision of this entire session of the Supreme Court, which means it could go all the way through the 1st of July, to my understanding. And RJ and others talking about some of that here. Glenn Stewart with one more interesting comment I want to get to here, saying Marco seemed too reasonable and calm to be a liberal. Tony provided pure truth. Would like to try both their restaurants. And yeah, I would fully agree with the idea of being able to go anywhere because, yeah, the whole idea that there's no peace for our political enemies, I reject that roundly. I don't care who's saying it, but, well, there's certain people saying it more than others these days. And why, when it has come up, the idea of, well, let's stoop to those tactics, I'm saying that's a bad plan in and of itself. Not necessarily because, like, it's like it becomes an arms race at that point. They're doing it, therefore we have to do it. Maybe no one should do it, and those that are doing it should be called out as such. There are still, I think, base levels of humanity that we need to respect out of each other because, like it or not, that pale blue dot we all inhabit, unless you're strapping yourself to Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk, you ain't getting off it anytime soon, at least not in the physical sense. Jeez, too many issues, and we'll keep doing it as we do every Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m. right here on News Radio 690 KTSM. That's going to do it for us today. So, of course, Free for All Friday coming up for you. A couple of other topics, including some of the legal issues we may have mentioned, as well as food banks in the area. So instead of those and ahead of those, stay safe out there. Look twice for motorcycles when out on the road, and have a great evening. We'll see y'all tomorrow.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
I-10 eastbound at Geronimo Drive, a stalled semi is blocking the right lane. I-10 westbound at Trowbridge, left lane there is blocked by a stalled vehicle. Stay right. Accident reported Mesa Street, northbound at Executive Center Boulevard. Take Brentwood or Stanton instead. And an injury accident downtown Montana Avenue at North Kansas Street. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
Let's face it, credit cards are pretty much a necessity.
New tires for the car? Oh, here's my card.
I order takeout, use my card. And most of us just accept the high interest rates credit cards charge as a necessary evil.
What are you going to do?
Get a low fixed-rate credit card consolidation loan from Lightstream from $5,000 to $100,000 and pay off those credit card balances. Apply online, and you could get your money as soon as the day you apply. The average credit card company charges over 19% APR. But with Lightstream, you can get a fixed rate as low as 5.73% APR with auto pay and excellent credit.
Now I can pay off my high-interest credit cards and save money.